The child imagined the wick of the candle lighting, but nothing happened in reality. "I did as you told me, and the wick didn't light," he declared in surrender. She hit him on the head firmly and exclaimed, "Did you think it would be that simple?" Holding his head in pain from her blow, he asked, "Why did you hit me? You need to be more serious when you imagine things if you want them to truly manifest. Why are you yelling?" "Because you're foolish," she said, her voice raised. "I did as you asked. Your imagination was silly," she then added. "You need to see in your mind a light thread of smoke rising from the wick and visualize the flickering light emitted by the candle flame. You need to hear the silent sound of the fire igniting and inhale the scent of the melting wax through your nose. Do you understand?" The grandson nodded his head, then began to imagine the candle's wick igniting, but in the manner that his grandmother had instructed him. He could see the thin thread of smoke rising from the wick and the dancing, flickering light coming from the candle. He was able to inhale the scent of the melting wax. Meanwhile, Taj and Aklil watched as the white head of the wick gradually turned black. "He will succeed," Taj whispered to Aklil in a low voice so as not to break her grandson's concentration. But just before he could light the wick, something interrupted his focus when he heard knocking on the castle gate. "It seems someone is knocking at the door," he said. Taj felt that something bad was about to happen. "I'll see who it is," then she added, "and you continue your training." When she opened the castle gate, she saw the person she had feared would come. It was Bar. "Can I understand what my son is doing with a woman like you? I took care of him at a time when everyone abandoned him, including you." "I did not abandon him. I went to chase those who killed my wife." "And where were you during those days when your wife died 1,000 times due to thinking of you and your absence?" Her words struck a deep wound in his heart, making it very difficult for him to keep his composure. "I didn't come to explain reasons that don't concern you. I came to take my son and leave, and who will take care of him? You. I don't believe that's any of your concern, Redbird. The boy will not leave here until you tell me. I want to know why a filthy fairy like you is interested in my son." "Watch your tongue if you want him to stay in your mouth," she warned, ignoring the threat. "Will you give him to me, or shall I take him by force?" With a calmness that showed high self-confidence, she replied, "He will not leave here until you tell me about the person who will take care of him." Although Bar was an outstanding knight, despite his strength, he was completely unaware of what that fairy might do to him should she decide to use her power against him. So he replied, "And who will prevent me?" "You." Taj ignored the clear disdain in his tone and said, "Answer my question, Bar. Who will take care of the boy?" "Ire will take care of him. You're letting that disabled woman take care of my—" She almost said my grandson, but caught herself just in time and said, "The boy. That's none of your concern." Taj took a deep breath and managed, with great effort, to control her nerves. She knew how stubborn Bar was, and that if she wanted to keep her grandson, she had to be more lenient in this situation. "I know that losing your wife was not easy," then she added in a softer tone, "but this boy, Bar, has turned 18, and he deserves a lot of attention and care. Let him stay here, and I promise you I will take care of him and teach him until he grows more." "What will a fairy like you teach my son?" Taj exclaimed as she lost her temper. "And Ire, isn't she a witch?" "Yes, but I trust her while I don't know anything about you. I promise I will take care of him, and you can come at any time to see him." "Sorry, I don't accept promises from strangers." "Well, maybe you're right not to accept a promise from a stranger," she added. "But please tell me at least, will you be with him?" "No," Bar replied. "I have returned to work with the Gatham organization again." Taj's eyes widened when she heard that news and said disbelievingly, "After they killed your wife?" He didn't answer, as if he didn't wish to explain reasons he thought didn't concern anyone but himself. Taj, angry, said, "You told me a moment ago that you went to chase those who killed Jumana. I thought you went to avenge her, not to renew your loyalty to them." Then she raised her voice at him, saying, "Has something happened to your head, Bar?" In a sorrowful tone, as if confessing his mistakes in front of the church priest, he said, "They killed her because of my recklessness. I should have listened to my friend Ayub when he advised me not to visit my family, but I was foolish and didn't heed his advice, and because of that, they killed her." "Did they promise you that they would bring her back to life if you returned to work with them?" "They said they would let my son live." "And what are their terms this time?" "That I leave the boy with Ire to take care of him, and I return to work with them." "You mean he will be under their watchful eyes, so they can threaten you with him when necessary. The important thing is that he is safe. Are you convinced by this talk? Did your friend Ayub agree with you on that? I don't know anything about him. Why? Where is he? Bar said, swallowing a desire to cry. If he managed to survive, I think he is with the Ashawish tribes. What happened? Weren't you with him? But I was against him, he said regretfully, then added while recounting the story. After they killed Jumana, Ayub and I headed west towards the Forbidden Mountain Range. We wanted to seek help from Princess Asha's of the Ashawesh tribes to assist us in the revenge war. However, the emissaries of the Elephant's Tusk intercepted us before we reached there. What did they want? They told me that the Elephant's Tusk threatened to kill my son if I made any moves against him. And what does Ayub have to do with this? Taj said, what did you do, Bar? After I agreed to return with them, the first order I received was to kill Ayub. And did you agree? He didn't answer, so Taj repeated impatiently. Did you agree? I had no other choice. Then he added, I tried to kill him, but he escaped, and the emissaries of the Elephant's Tusk pursued him. When they returned, they said they had killed him. Taj fell silent in shock, while he continued with a tone of voice that reflected his helplessness. No one can escape the wrath of the Elephant's Tusk, not even you, Red Bird. You cannot stand against him. Nothing escapes his notice, and I am beginning to genuinely believe that he is the god he claims to be. He is powerful, and no one can defeat him. He has spies everywhere, reporting to him. If I even think about forming a force against him, he will know and will order my son's death, and no one could stop him then. So I had to agree. Taj didn't comment, but shot him an angry look. He said, it is the last thing I have left of my wife, and I don't want anything to happen to it. Therefore, I agreed to return with them, and this time I won't break the agreement. I'll just make sure he is with Ire and return to them. I won't come back to see my son, no matter how much I miss him. Then he looked up at the sky and shouted, do you hear me, Elephant's Tusk? I won't break agreement this time, I promise. She grabbed him by the collar of his clothes and pulled him close until their noses almost touched. Lower your voice, you fool. You're standing in front of the fortress of the Emperor's tyrant, and this castrated Elephant's Tusk wouldn't dare think of getting close to here. Jumana is dead, the one for whom I breathed, he said in a tone that betrayed the depth of his wound. And I think I lost my friend Ayub, and there's no one left for me except this boy. Please, let me keep him in the way I see fit. I beg you, Redbird. A few moments passed before Taj released Bar from her grip, returning to the inside of the fortress. Where are you going? I'll bring you the boy. She went to the room where her grandson sat with Akhlil. Although she saw the candle wick burning, she wasn't too happy about his successful acquisition of that new skill. She looked directly at him, and it was hard for her to tell him he would have to leave, but she had no other choice. Your father is here. My father. Yes, and he came to take you. Take me? Yes, to a woman who will take care of you. But I want to stay with you, he said, clinging to her. Please, don't make this goodbye difficult, Taj said sadly, distancing him. Listen and go. And you? Don't worry, I will be fine, she added, and I will come to visit you from time to time. Deal? When she said deal, his heart raced, and he felt a sensation that he couldn't explain at that moment. That word wasn't unfamiliar to him. He always heard it, but now, in a mysterious way, he couldn't remember. What's wrong with you? She asked. Why has your face turned yellow like this? He ignored her question and said hesitantly, Deal. He followed her, and on his shoulder sat a baby face, which appeared calm and indifferent to the events happening around it. It showed no reaction when it saw its father, and perhaps that was due to its impaired memory. It was now standing before a strange man to it, one it had never seen in its life until now. Bar said, avoiding looking into his son's eyes, which were like Jumana's. Come on, we will go somewhere else. He glanced at Taj. He didn't know what to do. Go with him, she whispered as she pushed him from his shoulder. There's nothing to fear. He nodded in agreement, and before he moved away, Bar asked curiously as if he had just noticed the bird. What kind of bird is this? Its name is Akhlil, said the child, and it's who? He almost revealed everything, but before he could, Taj stopped him using her telepathy skill and said to him without Bar hearing anything, Don't continue. Stop. Your father must not know anything about this. He fell silent and didn't continue. So his father said, Continue, and what? Then, since he remained silent and did not speak, his father felt uneasy, especially since the orange-colored bird was not like any type of birds he knew. He decisively said, We will not take this bird with us. He spoke to his grandmother using telepathy. What should I do, Taj? You must find a way to take Akhlil with you. He turned to his father and said, I want to keep this bird. He paused for a moment, then continued as if his instincts told him to use this trick. Please, Father, Bar looked at the bird with some suspicion. He wasn't comfortable with the matter, but in the end, he was under the influence of the word father. It was the first time his son asked him for something, and the first time he called him by that word. So after some hesitation, he said, "All right, you can keep it." The three of them left the place, while Taj grumbled under her breath with a low hiss that escaped her teeth as she burned with anger. "You have condemned yourself to death, you cursed sage," then she added. "But before I settle my accounts with you, there is someone I need to see first." The guardian of the dark forest was supposed to kill Bar the moment he set foot on the forest soil because he is, after all, a human being. But since she did not do so, Taj to meet with her to investigate this unforgivable negligence. Before she went to search for her, she heard rustling sounds approaching from among the dense grass. Tara whispered as she got closer, "I know you want to see me, so I decided to come to you myself. Why didn't you kill him when he entered the boundaries of the forest?" "I couldn't." "Why?" "For Jumana's soul." This goblin had grown with Jumana in the Emperor's castle, and despite their differing sexes, their deep bond made them live as though they were sisters their entire lives, and they had never parted until Jumana decided to marry Bar. Despite Tara's deep attachment to her, she respected her decision and distanced herself entirely. The anger within Taj made her wish to kill her, but at the same time, she knew that engaging in a battle against her would not be easy since Tara had trained under the Great One himself, making her difficult to defeat easily. Taj vanished from before her without doing anything and headed elsewhere.